Cameron IGCSE Chemistry, February March 2023. Substance M is a solid at 30 Celsius. The substance is heated to 80 Celsius and its temperature measured as it cools down to room temperature. The cooling curve is shown, between which times is substance M freezing. So at 80 Celsius, substance M is heated, so it's heating, and it says at 30 Celsius substance M is a solid, so it's a solid at 30 Celsius. So at 80 Celsius it's a liquid, and at 30 Celsius it becomes a solid. So what happens when a liquid changes solid? So when you freeze a liquid, it changes solid. So at P it's a liquid, so when it comes down till Q to R, it freezes and turns into a liquid. So B, from Q to R. Which gas has the fastest rate of diffusion? So which has the lowest MR will diffuse faster. So the MR of argon is 40 and 30, 36.5 and 33. So it will be ethane because it has the lowest MR. So it will diffuse faster. There are two stable isotopes of bromine. The mass number of isotope 1 is 79. The mass number of isotope 2 is 81. Which statement is correct? Isotopes have the same number of neutrons. No. The definition of isotopes is that it has the same number of electrons and protons, but different number of neutrons. So it is wrong. The isotopes have different chemical properties, which is also wrong. The isotopes have different number of protons, which is wrong. The isotopes have same number of outer electrons, which is correct. Which statement about ions and ionic bonds is correct? Bromine ions form negatively charged bromine ions. Is correct. Ionic bonds form between elements in group 7 of the periodic table. No. Ionic bonds are in metals. Iron bonds are formed between metals and non-metals, and it says that iron bond forms between elements in group 7, and in group 7 there are non-metals. Positive ions are formed when ions lose electrons. Positive ions are formed but when atoms lose electrons, not protons, so it's wrong. Potassium iodide contains negatively charged potassium ions. It contains positively charged ions, so it's wrong. So the correct answer is A. Part of the periodic table is shown. Which type of chemical bonding is present in the oxide of F and oxide of G? So F is a metal and G is a non-metal. So F has ionic bonding and G has covalent bonding, so it will be C. Element X and Y react to form a compound. Element X loses 2 electrons, so it means it's a metal. And element Y gains 1 electron, so it means it's a non-metal. What is the charge of the ions of element X and Y, and what is the formula of the compounds? So X is a metal, so you can cancel out C and D. So it will be either A or B. It will be B, it will be YX2. Which statement of graphite explains why is it used as an electrode? So the answer is D, because it has mobile electrons, so it can conduct electricity, and that's why it's used as an electrode. Methane, CH4 burns in air to form carbon dioxide and water. What is the balance equation for this reaction? So you just have to balance the chemical equation. So there's 1 carbon and 1 carbon. There is 2 oxygen in the reactant side, and there's 4 oxygen in the product side, so it's wrong, it's not balanced. There's 1 carbon, 4 oxygen, and 2 oxygen here and 2 oxygen. So it is balanced. And you can also see the hydrogen, it's also balanced. So B is correct. So the correct answer of 8 is B. The equation for determining decomposition of sodium hydrogen carbonate is shown. The MR of sodium hydrogen carbonate is 84. The MR of sodium carbonate is 106. In an experiment, 2.1 gram of sodium hydrogen carbonate is heated, but not all of it is decomposed. All of the carbon dioxide is collected and measured at room temperature and pressure. The total volume carbon dioxide produced is 0.3 m3. The volume of 1 mole of a gas at room temperatures and pressure is 24 dm3. Which statement is correct? So you have a balanced chemical equation. Now you can compare it, because the first option says that the mass of sodium carbonate produced is 0.93. So let's see. Sodium carbonate ratio. So you have to compare sodium carbonate with carbon dioxide. You can't compare it with sodium hydrogen carbonate because it says not all of it is decomposed, so you can't use sodium hydrogen carbonate. So you do carbon dioxide, and it's 1:1, so 1:1. And now you can find the moles of carbon dioxide by volume equal by 24. So the volume of carbon dioxide is given 0.21 divided by 24. It will give you 0.00875 moles. So you have 0.00875 moles of carbon dioxide. And you will have the same number of moles also for sodium carbonate, because it's 1:1. So now you have to find the mass of sodium carbonate. So you will use the formula mole equal mass over mR. So you have the moles 0.00875 multiplied by mR, which is 106. So you can write 106 equal by mass. So when you solve this, it will be 0.9275. So you can round it at 0.93. So the correct answer is A. The B says the mass of sodium carbonate per is 1.33. We just saw that the mass of sodium carbonate per is 0.93, so it's wrong. The percentage yield of carbon dioxide is 10%. The percentage yield of carbon dioxide is 35%. So you can't find the percentage yield because there is no actual yield, so C and D are wrong. An electrolysis experiment is done using carbon electrodes. Hydrogen and oxygen are formed at the electrodes. What is the electrolyte? Aqueous copper 2 sulfate. So if aqueous copper 2 sulfate is electrolyzed, copper would be formed, so it's wrong. Concentrated hydrochloric acid. If it would be electrolyzed, chlorine will be formed. Dilute aqueous sodium chloride. If it would be electrolyzed, hydrogen and oxygen would be formed, so it's correct. Molten potassium oxide is wrong, because if it would be electrolyzed, potassium and oxygen would be formed. Concentrated aqueous copper 2 sulfate is electrolyzed using copper electrodes. Which ionic half equation describes the reaction taking place at the cathode? So it says concentrated aqueous copper 2 sulfate using copper electrodes. So we know that when we do this reaction, copper is formed at cathode, so it won't be A or B. And then C, it says that copper is oxidized, and then cathode, copper is reduced. It reduces. So in C, it says that copper is oxidized, so it's wrong. So the correct answer is D. When powdered sodium carbonate and aqueous ethanoic acid are mixed, the temperature of the mixture falls. Which statement about this reaction is correct? So when it's an endothermic reaction, the temperature of the surrounding falls, so it means that the reaction is endothermic, and delta H in endothermic is positive, so it will be B. Potassium powder reacts with an excess of dilute hydrochloric acid to produce hydrogen gas. Which statement about this reaction are correct? The smaller the particles of magnesium powder, the more slowly the hydrogen is produced. It's wrong. The higher the temperature, the faster the magnesium powder disappears. That is correct. The lower the concentration of dilute hydrochloric acid, the faster the rate of reaction. It's wrong because the higher the concentration of dilute hydrochloric acid, the faster the magnesium powder disappears, the faster the rate of reaction. Its correct, so it will be C. The reaction between two aqueous compounds X and Y is slow and exothermic. The graph shows how the rate of this reaction changes with time. A student suggests that the rate of reaction decreases with time because the activation energy decreases. So the only thing that affects the activation energy is catalyst, and there's no catalyst in this reaction. So it's wrong. The speed of the molecules of X and Y decreases. So they are not talking about the speed, so it's also wrong. The concentration of both X and Y decreases with time. As you can see in the graph, it's a decreasing gradient, so it's correct. So the correct answer is D. Hydrogen reacts with iodine to form hydrogen iodide. Which statement explains why the reaction is faster when the pressure is increased at constant temperature? At higher temperature, the molecules are moving faster. At higher pressure, more of the molecules have the required activation energy. So pressure does not affect activation energy, so it's wrong. At higher temperature, the molecules are closer together. It's correct. At higher temperature, the molecules collide more frequently. Also correct, so it will be D. Ammonium sulfate is used as a fertilizer. It is made from ammonia and sulfuric acid. Which words complete gaps 1, 2, and 3? So in A it says ammonia and contact process. Ammonia is not made in contact process, so it's wrong. In B it says ammonia, Haber process, and vanadium 5 oxide. So the catalyst in Haber process is not vanadium oxide, it's iron, so it's wrong. In C it says sulfuric acid, Haber process, contact process, and vanadium 5 oxide. It's correct. In D it says sulfuric acid, Haber process. Sulfuric acid is not made in Haber process. The reversible reaction shown takes place in a closed reaction at constant temperature. When the reaction has reached equilibrium, more T is added. After the addition of T, which other substances increase in concentration? So it says you add more T. So when the concentration of products is increased, so to balance out, you will increase the concentration of all the reactants. So you have P, Q, and R as reactants, so it will be C. In which equation is the alkaline substance acting as a reducing agent? So reducing agent is what it reduces others. It reduces others and oxidizes itself. So in A, carbon monoxide oxidizes itself and reduces iron dioxide. So it's correct. In B part, carbon dioxide does not oxidize anyone. In C part, so it's wrong. In C part, carbon dioxide is reduced, so it's wrong. And D is also wrong, so the correct answer is A. An aqueous solution reacts with a solid. The products are an alkaline gas, a salt, and water. What are the aqueous solution and the salt? So you will cancel out B and C because as you know that acid will not react with ammonia, but it's an alkaline gas. So it will be either A or D. So you can write the reaction. It's sodium hydroxide and it reacts with an solid. You don't know which solid is it, so you can just write a solid. And it gives you an alkaline gas, which is the alkaline gas in these in the options is ammonia, so you can write ammonia, and it gives you a salt and water. So in A there's no alkaline gas. In D part there is alkaline gas, which is ammonia. So D is correct. Butyronic acid partially dissociate in aqueous solution. Which row about butyronic acid is correct? So you can cancel out C and D because C and D are the pairs of alkali. And A is also wrong because it says butyronic acid is a weak acid and 3 is a pair of strong acids. so it will be B. And acid turns thymoptyline colorless, so it will be B.